We are coming to you from Target Field in beautiful Minneapolis, Minnesota, where this afternoon WGN Sports presents White Sox baseball. That's Todd Frazier, Melky Cabrera, Avi Garcia, and our Sox as they get set to butt heads with Paul Molitor's Minnesota Twins. Hi, everybody, and welcome. With Steve Stone, I'm Ken Harrelson as we get set to bring you the finale of this three-game set, and it will be the rubber match. As you may or may not know, they won the opener in 12 innings by a score of 2-1. Then last night in 10 innings, we won that ball game 6-5. But one of the things about last night's ball game was Justin Morneau and his return to Minnesota.
Well, it's been a triumphant return because he's done a good job and the fans really appreciated him here. And he started off on Friday, almost taking the first one out of the ballpark. It was high off the wall, but it was hit so hard, it was only a single. Then in the ball game last night, he doubled and then this, getting a high fastball, taking it out of the ballpark. So back in some familiar territory, he's played very well, and his teammates now really appreciate him. That's what he's done this series, 3 for 8. The home run, the 2 driven in with a run and a double. So hopefully he can carry that through and give us that left-handed bat that certainly has been needed in this lineup.
Well, on the mound for us today is a young man who's a very lucky southpaw. I mean, he could have broken his wrist very easily in an accident falling in the dugout. Carlos Rodon.
Fortunately, we're seeing him back for the first time since July 5th, and last time we saw him, it was not a particularly good appearance against the New York Yankees. They hit the ball very hard, touching him up for 5 runs early. He was most unhappy with that performance, but looking for a redeemer here today. His mound opponent, Ervin Santana, is a good one. Despite his record this year, he usually throws the ball very well, and he would be, I believe, their #1 starter if they were going to rank them. So last time out he threw it well but lost to the Braves, and then we'll take a look head-to-head at the respective pitchers against the teams they're going to face. Carlos, 1-1 ERA, 2.61 lifetime against the Twins. On the other side of the equation, Santana 6-8, his ERA up close to 4 against our Sox. So he was a guy they didn't trade. Everybody looking for starting out there, and they decided to keep Santana here. We're going to beat him today.
All right, it is a rubber match, and after this, we will move over to Detroit to finish up this road trip. So sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way. Chicago White Sox baseball is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. By Honda. Get the Honda you love at the Honda Summer Clearance event, now at your Honda dealer. By Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. By Ford, America's best-selling brand 6 years running, inviting you to check out our fuel-efficient lineup at your local Ford store at localfordstores.com.
White Sox completed a trade this morning, sending Zach Duke to the St. Louis Cardinals for a minor league outfielder, Charlie Tilson. Tilson was hitting .282 with 4 homers and 34 driven in 100 games at AAA Memphis. Earlier today, Robin talked about the effect the trade is going to have inside the clubhouse and in his bullpen rotation.
He took the ball. It was left, right. You know, I think in any kind of situation, you could really count on him, and you know, that's a tough piece not to have. It's a tough one. I think anytime a good guy like him, you know, a big presence inside our clubhouse and very effective pitcher. You know, you see a guy like that go out the door, it's tough on everyone. It'll affect guys. I think that's you know, normal. That, you know, when somebody of Zach's stature goes out of here, that it's going to be a tough day for guys.
Stay with us. We're going to have today's lineups in the first pitch right after these messages. By Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV. Yet another gorgeous day for baseball. Today a little bit warmer than it's been, as Robin Ventura trying to win the third final and rubber game of the series. The Sox have dominated the Twins to this point this year, and hopefully more the same today. So let's take a look at how Robin is going to line them up for the finale. Adam Eaton leading it off. Tim Anderson in the 2 spot. Then it's Melky Cabrera, Justin Morneau, Todd Frazier back in the lineup with 8 home runs over his last 25 games. Then it's Avisail Garcia, Tyler Saladino, Omar Narvaez getting the nod behind the plate, and Carlos Sanchez rounding it out. The defense. So now Paul Molitor is going to line them up. Robbie Grossman, Byron Buxton, and Danny Santana. We've seen him all over the field. With Miguel Sano, Eduardo Escobar, Jorge Polanco, and Kenneth Vargas at first base. Juan Centeno behind the plate, and Urban Santana on the hill. He is most likely the ace of this staff. ERA 378. The record not good. The rest of the numbers are pretty good, especially 80 strikeouts, just 29 walks, and 114 in the third innings. His specialty is the slider. He's tightened it up somewhat. It's been a very good pitch for him recently. The umpires for the game this afternoon, Adrian Johnson, who always does a good job behind the plate, with Chad Whitson, Gary Cedarstrom, and Jim Wolf at third base. So they've thrown the ball around the infield. We're ready for the finale. And that means time now to throw it to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
Hi, Stoney. Thank you. And once again, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to White Sox baseball right here over WGN Sports. We're happy you could join us for the rubber match of this three-game set. Before we show you our picks to click, you at home select yours as Adam Eaton stands in to face, as Steve just told you, he's a good one. Forget about the numbers. This guy knows what he's doing out there on the bump, and what you got to do is take advantage of the mistakes. But the first pitch of the ball game, taken up high. Adam comes in hitting at 272, 8 homers, 37 driven in. Sox hitting at 249 as a club. And there's the strike. Outfield for the most part straight up. And here at the ballpark, 328 down the right field line, 339 down the left field line, 377 in left center, 365 in right center with that high wall out there, 411 in deep left center, 403 in deep right center. 12th meeting of the year between these two clubs. In the first 11, our guys have won 9 of them. 2-2 pitch. Ball was inside, and he called him out. And they're still having some words. Ball was inside. As here is Anderson. Tim. 3 hits yesterday.
Take another look at it. And he did hit Centeno's glove, but it was a couple inches off the plate.
So with 2 out, let's check out our picks to click. Man, Joe, our director and the crew, well, they went with Carlos Sanchez. Fans are going with Justin Morneau. Steve's going with Todd Frazier. And Joe Simmons, Martha Black, Gail Tucker, and I. We're going to go with Adam Eaton. Cabrera. He's been swinging that stick. Take strike 1.
Can't look for too big a fastball from Santana, although he's been a good pitcher for a long time. Had big years with the Angels in Anaheim, 2005, 16-8.
Well, you know, when he was within that Angel uniform, he could really work the ball. I'm not talking about as good as a Bartolo Colon or somebody like that, but he worked the ball nicely. He could tail it in, he could cut it a little bit, run it. So he widened his plate out. And so far with Minnesota, he has not been able to do quite that, as he has an easy inning right there. And after half inning of play, our guys nothing, and their guys coming to bat.
Up his twins, Brian Dozier leading it off. That's Robbie Grossman, Miguel Sano, Kenneth Vargas, Eduardo Escobar, Jorge Polanco, Danny Santana, Juan Centeno, and Byron Buxton rounding it out. The defense, and on the lineup behind Carlos Rodon, Cabrera, Eaton, and Garcia in the outfield, with Tyler, Tim, Carlos, and Todd in the infield. Omar Narvaez gets a nod behind the plate. And for the first time since July 5th, Carlos Rodon on the hill. He's thrown very well lifetime against these Twins. 1-1 with a 2.61 ERA, and he has to face a very hot Brian Dozier.
3 for 9 in the series. Good fastball hitter. As he takes that one right there. For him, that is wheelhouse. High fastball, 90 miles an hour. Yes. That ball's hit hard. There was another high fastball at 92.
It's one thing to get away. One thing to get away with one in the zone, but you're not going to get two in the same spot.
Let me ask you a question. When you're on the mound, okay, as you take another look at it, and a ground ball is hit to your left, should somebody have to yell and tell you, "Hey, get over there"?
Probably not. No.
No. You know how to. You know, you've done it since you were a kid.
And Dozier's been hitting high fastballs for a long time.
And how long does it take us to understand Nick Castellanos can hit the low fastball?
But we'll see. We'll see a whole series full of him in Detroit. We'll have to see if that's a pass ball or a wild pitch, as Grossman shortened up to bunt and doesn't have to. This ball drifts way inside, and it is a wild pitch.
Well, you can bet that Don Cooper, when they go over the hitters, telling them, guys, Brian Dozier can hit the high fastball. Guys, Nick Castellanos can hit the low fastball. The gun can't get him. Good effort. And it's 1-0 Minnesota. Beautiful effort by Anderson.
Tim Anderson did everything he could possibly do. Got to the ball quickly enough, a full-out dive, and then back to his feet. But Grossman just a step too quick. This ball is hit in the hole. That's RBI number 23 for Grossman, as he just barely beats the play at first.
Well, one of the pet peeves I've had lately, especially lately, close ball games. Man on second, nobody out, nobody even tries to get him over. And Todd Stevenson telling him, get him over. So it's the woes of our offense is not coming from Todd Stevenson, I can tell you that. I've talked to a couple of our hitters, not all of them. And they say he's telling us the right things to do. We're just not doing it.
There's a look at Todd, and the hitting coach can make suggestions.
That's all you can do.
Make suggestions.
These guys are major league players,
and hope they take them.
You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't even have to tell a major league player in a one-run ball game, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning, man on second, nobody, get him over. Shouldn't even have to bring it up. We do. That just burns Steve, his behind, and mine both. Not to see even an effort.
Yeah, you got to go. I mean, in a situation where you're going to win or lose a game, depending on execution, you want to at least think through the process and try to do the right thing. Now, you're not going to be able to do it all the time. Nobody can do it all the time.
No, they can make some good pitches on you. It'll keep you from doing it. But give it an effort, even if you knock off your thumbnails. Oh, man. What a year. This man here is some kind of strong.
Snow's going to be their everyday third baseman. He was there, and then because Plouffe was swinging it real well, they moved Sano out to right field to play. they've decided for his future, for the team's future, he's going to be a building block at third base. Trevor Plouffe had been hurt. He's not coming back anytime soon that they know, so Sano is getting all kinds of play.
No, when you get a cracked rib, you're not going to be back
Nope.
quickly.
So Ormar goes out there to have a word.
Here you go.
Those are some of the better straight changes that Carlos has thrown. You can bet Narvaez has been told to call for the straight change because maybe not today, but certainly he's going to need that straight change as a weapon.
Well, again, I'm sure Cooper's talked to him about it. He said, Carlos says he feels good.
Yep.
He said the wrist is not a problem anymore. No pain, no hurting. He's very fortunate that he didn't break it, but it'll be interesting to see if he has his good fastball, and if he doesn't, that's Vargas way back, and it's 3-0. That man's 295 pounds.
That ball was low and in, and he hit the daylights out of it. It's the 4th home run of the year. He's now driven in 10, and just like that, it's a very early 3-run lead. There you see a fastball, and unfortunately, Vargas, who was just reinserted back in the lineup, puts a charge into it.
Now that 411 sign, that's the deepest part of the ballpark. 295 pounds, switch hitter. Another rocket. That fastball at 94. And even though he's got decent velocity on it, a lot of times, Steve, you know, as you know, you might lose a little movement.
Yeah, and that's really the key is, does the ball have late movement or is it going to be straight? 93, 94. Very easy to hit if there isn't any late movement on it. And that's exactly what the Twins are doing today so far to Carlos, who had a tough time out last time out against the Yankees. That was back on July 5th. So he's been shocked early in this one. A double, a couple of singles, a 2-run homer. And the inning will stay alive, as Don Cooper's had his say.
Well, and they have all been tattooed.
No cheapies.
No Kansas City specials in those. One out, 1-1 to count. Him took just a little too much time getting it over there. So 2 down.
Gets the force out, cannot turn the double play on Polanco. That beats it by a good 2 steps.
Yeah. So here is Santana. He has faced Rodon 4 times, has 2 hits.
Santana, a switch hitter who's much better from the left side. He'll be looking out at Carlos from the right side, however, where he's hitting just 158.
Well, with the bullpen shape it's in, might be a good time for Carlos to. There he goes. Fouls that one away. Might be a good time for Carlos to go out there and try to use a little Cunningham guy.
He's going to have to today because the life on the fastball, at least at this point, isn't there. I mean, it won't come to him. It's just not there now, and he's about ready to use his 21st pitch of the inning.
Polanco 1 for 1 in stolen bases.
And for those of you that might have missed it, Zach Duke is now a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. In return, Charlie Tilson comes over. Tilson from the Chicagoland area. He's a speed burner. He was a second-round pick of the Cardinals in 2011. He was hitting .282 at Memphis, which is AAA. Had 8 triples. That led the league, and there is the deal.
And that's up high. That one at 93. But again, it's not so much the velocity as it is the movement.
It's just command. You're coming back after a long absence. Long for a starting pitcher in the middle of the season, about 3.5 weeks. And you certainly worry about command.
There he goes. So the count hangs at 1-2. A lot of managers 1-2 count, 2 out. Fairly young hitter at the plate. Pretty good speed at first. Just go ahead and try to get him another bat by. If he gets thrown out, fine. He makes it even better.
You just as soon. I mean, if he gets thrown out, you're leading off with Santana instead of Centeno, which is a speed guy as opposed to a backup catcher.
That's the reason he ran him. Surprised he didn't. Watch out. Almost gave up a little too much ground right there. Meanwhile, a quick 3 spot and they lead at 3-0. Justin Morneau will lead it off. Cleanup hitter, the DH this afternoon. Frazier on deck. Garcia in the hole. 3-0 bad guys.
Quinn's toying with the idea of moving along Santana and then thought better of it. They're going to sell contention next year. Santana is going to be one of those keys. They got him under control at a reasonable price for the next 2 years after this one.
Two and one to count. Ball hit hard. Well, that's an important point, an issue for a non-contending team.
Talking about control.
Yeah.
It's hard to give away a guy when you know you got him for about 2.5 more years, and if you do move him, he's probably a high number 2 starter. You're going to probably have to pay more to duplicate him in your rotation.
3 balls, 2 strikes.
Take another look, and Morneau thought that one was down. It's caught well by Centeno, and could have gone either way. Unfortunately, it went Santana's way.
Well, we've been saying that the whole series. This whole series. We had some real good umpiring in the Cup series. We have not had real good umpiring in this series, even though we won the game last night.
That one right off of Centeno, and Adrian Johnson giving him a chance to collect himself.
Todd hitting at .212, 29 homers, 67 driven in, 2 for 9 lifetime off of Santana.
So far he's missed with that slider, especially to the right-handers. That's a big weapon for Santana when he's not throwing it for strikes. That's when he is very hittable.
Well, right now he's basically just been, as you mentioned,
yep,
a one-pitch pitcher. So that's why hitters have to be into the game, even when they're not hitting. They have to be over there watching or having. That's the one thing that I think could really help guys. Is 2 down. Say you go to the plate in the 4th inning. Hey Hawks, this guy's only got 8% of the sliders over. Or this guy has only got 12% of the fastballs over. I mean,
it's a big advantage.
It gives you an idea. It gives you a positive idea. Now, does that mean he's not going to get 3 sliders in a row over? If he does, grab some bench.
I'll be getting another start. Had a couple of doubles and scored 2 runs in last night's game.
Going to the count. Softly hit. High throw. And that will be an error if it's not checked.
It's going to be the 9th error of the year on Escobar, who tried to lollipop the throw over. You got underneath it. And even with the size of Vargas, he has to go up before he can come down. Avi crosses the bag. Get underneath that throw, and you're going to take the first baseman off the bag. They want to take a look at it in the dugout to see, and they say play on.
So here's Saladino, 2 for 9 in the series, hitting at .262, 5 homers, 22 driven in.
Outfield straight away, as is the infield. Very close, but no appeal.
9, no field. I don't think too many people bet the field anymore.
In horse racing or craps?
Craps.
You could bet the field in horse racing.
Two out, 1 on, 1-1 to count. Oh. Got a good pitch to hit, made a good pass at it, and underneath it.
The Cleveland Indians today acquired Andrew Miller from the New York Yankees. They gave up a whole lot in young talent for him, and they thought they had Jonathan Lucroy from Milwaukee. Only he exercised his no trade. And what he asked him to do, Hawk, and this is what happens when a team has an option on a player. He asked Cleveland, in order to take away the no trade, to give up their option in 17. That option was for $5.5 million. He feels if he was a free agent, he can get a lot more than that.
Which he could.
There's no doubt. So, having negotiated for not only that option, but also negotiated for 8 teams he can't get traded to, the Indians, who thought they had a very productive offensive and defensive catcher, find that deal fell apart.
Well, if they had got Lucroy and Miller, that may have just sealed the deal for them.
And right now they're leading Oakland 5-0, so that team is pretty psyched up. They went against Sonny Gray and battered him.
All right, it's still 3-0. Juan Centeno, the catcher, jacks it up and takes a strike. By the way, if you're scoring along with us, that was a strikeout and not caught stealing. They called the strikeout on the check swing. One out.
Sox fans, our pregame patio parties are the best deal at the ballpark. Patio tickets are all inclusive. You receive a game ticket and all you can eat buffet catered by Baseball Buffet, as well as wine and beer, Miller beverages. Patio opens 90 minutes prior to the game and closes 30 minutes after the start of the game. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/group.
Yeah, that was a big deal for Cleveland picking up Miller.
Well, they were in the process of pitching out Cody Allen, and they needed somebody to help him. Or whether they're going to close sometimes with Cody and sometimes with Andrew Miller, we'll see. But it gives them two really good guys at the back end of that pen.
It's a pretty nice choice.
It sure is. And Miller, you have for another couple years after this year, so he's not a rental player. The guy they gave up, Clint Frazier, is awfully good. An outfielder. I don't think Carlos.
Now, man, that was a strike on Morneau that you called, Adrian. Dozier got a high fastball and just ripped it in to left field for the double. Checks it up, and the count evens at 1.
Foul back in the seats, so another life for Brian Dozier.
Outfield really spread out. Adam Eaton in center if you're just tuning in. Avi in right. And that's into center field. Short center. Adam taking charge as he should. 2 down. So here's Grossman.
A little more heat, a little more humidity at the ballpark this afternoon, which will make it a lot livelier. Vargas didn't need a lot of help on his drive.
There he goes. It's number 9.
When you can steal him standing up, pitcher hasn't paid any attention to you. We saw yesterday just how great the speed of Buxton is. But he's now 9 of 10 in stolen bases. Boy, that was really fast.
Really fast how you closed that gap yesterday too. That was almost a catch that you really had to see it from the pitch to the hit to how hard it was hit, where it was hit. Had to see it to believe he could close that gap.
Yep.
Ty said he lost it on a transfer, and Chad Whitson said no, you bobbled it.
The question is Buxton entirely healthy? The first question is, did he catch the ball? The answer is he caught the ball. I mean, that one's not even close. Buxton might be hurt. There he pulls up. He almost doesn't get to the third base bag. Robin wants, I believe, them to take a look at the play at first base.
Well,
I think this is an easy one.
Plus, I don't know why Todd was coming off to make a throw to third base. That was the third out.
I was going to say, not as the third out of the inning, no. Buxton is coming off the field.
So he's going to depart. And we'll wait on New York to make a decision.
It's been one of the big problems with Byron Buxton during the course of his very brief career. He's been hurt quite a bit.
Well, some guys just won't have enough body fat.
No, I've played with a lot of great players, as have you, that were stopped from being near as good as they would have been by their bodies. Their bodies just gave up.
There were too much muscle, sinew, not enough body fat. And they pull muscle time after time after time. And plus pulling them, they got sore time after time after time. The exception to that, I played with a shortstop named Bert Campaneris.
He's out at first, and that was an easy call.
I was getting ready to say, you know, besides, never mind. That'll do it. We still trail us 3-0. Top of the third inning in the 3-0 Minnesota lead. 3 quick runs off Carlos Rodon in the first.
The new center fielder, it is Eddie Rosario. So Buxton left, Rosario comes in center. Mazda replay is Buxton going into second, and looks like he's going to slide. Then he doesn't at the last minute, and seemingly that's what hurt him. Sanchez asking him if he's okay.
That's foul, says Whitson.
Looks like he's going to slide. And then, the last instant, he doesn't. And Eddie Rosario, who we've seen in this series, we saw him playing left field in the opener.
Well, these guys are just in too good a shape. In your time frame and in my time frame, there's a disproportionate amount of DLs today as compared to.
Well, that is certainly true, and you can bear that out easily.
Well, last year in 2015, there were almost 10,000 days of DL in the big league.
Days lost and dollars not accounted for.
And then this year, there's a good chance they will surpass that. Omar takes the ball, and the count 3-2. Out of play. Cooperstown is filled with guys who had a nice percentage of body fat.
Some a little bit more than a nice percentage.
Yeah.
Some quite a bit more than a nice
For
percentage.
sure. One out.
Sano has a very strong arm. Didn't have too much ground to give and plenty of time to get it across. So although he doesn't have the greatest first step quickness, he's got a great arm, and the Twins believe that he's going to be down there for a long time, largely because of that bat, but he's not going to embarrass them defensively.
Well, he's just 23 years old.
Well, you put Sano and Vargas back to back, it looks like you got a start of an offensive or defensive line in the NFL. They're big, big guys.
Carlos with a 1-1 count. And another souvenir left side.
That was a changeup that he got up, but not really in a hittable spot. When I talked to Bert Blyleven, the Hall of Fame right-hander, he said that Santana has learned how to change speeds on his fastball, which has really made him much more effective. I think a lot of people truly believe that a pitcher has a fastball. Yeah, he might throw a two-seam and a four-seam fastball, but it's basically a fastball. There you look at the Hall of Famer, the author of 60 shutouts. The best thing you can do is to change speeds on your fastball. All you got to do is use a different grip and different finger pressure, because then the ball's going to move in different ways. You talked about what Santana was with the Angels, a guy that could make the ball move any way he wanted it to move. Now he's just getting back to that point after some injuries and some time off and a suspension and a lot of other things.
Well, hitters just don't like guys who can work the ball. That's the reason Bartolo Colon is not, since he doesn't throw 98, 99, and 100 anymore, has lasted so long. What is he, 42 years old now?
Yeah, but the most amazing thing is when you look at the percentages of pitches, he's right up there at what, 95, 96% fastballs?
Because he can work it.
Yeah, I was going to say with a fastball that's far from overwhelming.
Right. There's a base hit. by Adam Eaton. Yeah, when you can work the ball, hitters don't like it.
He breaks the bat, but he breaks the charm also. No hitter by the boards. The only man who reached base was Garcia on that E6. So now a base hit to keep the inning alive.
Here's Tim. White Sox used to have a pitcher that could work the ball. Joe Horland. He was a good one. Real good slider. Worked the fastball.
That was the days when the Sox had a rotation that nobody hit very well.
You go and play. You get in the old Comiskey Park and play those guys when they had Horland, Peter, and Peters and Tommy John. Those guys. I'm telling you, Buzz Harden. You had your work cut out for you as a hitter. Plus, you're playing with frozen baseballs by Eddie Stanky.
On top of it.
Oh man. And then Gene Bobson had to fight out in front of the plate. Like Okie Finoki.
I was going to say, if you've got a sinker bowling staff, nothing wrong with softening it up in front of home plate.
There's a line shot. Yeah, you had your work cut out for you against the White Sox then. Good thing they couldn't hit. If they could have hit, they would have won 2 or 3 world championships with that pitching staff. So here's Melky. Melky grounded out to Polanco at second base. And there is a base hit. Here's another Kansas City special. Watch out, Tim. Oh, come on. The run counts. And it's a 3-1 ball game.
Trevor Rosenthal, the fine closer of the St. Louis Cardinals on the 15-day DL. You look at the saves in 14, 15. This year struggled a bit. And the injury report is brought to you by Dr. Anthony Romeo Orthopedics. If you have a shoulder or elbow problem, go to RomeoOrthopedics.com or call 312-432-2342. Now we'll take a look at the way the inning ended as Rosario picks up an assist, and no idea where Tim Anderson is going. Either does Tim, and he is cut down and the Sox taken out of the inning.
3-1 ball game. Minnesota on top.
So Melky had 3 runs batted in last night and drives in the first here today. Melky's just been outstanding. Up to 49 runs batted in. Came in at 307. That's going to improve a touch.
One out.
Our fourth drive of the game came in the first inning. He got a fastball inside part of the plate, just about thigh high, and rode it out by plenty.
They got him listed at 289, but in talking with Minnesota people, he's heavier than that.
He's flown by 289?
Yeah. 6'5", 289 pounds. And Prescott. Like some of those NBA scorecards. You get them listed at 6'9", 6'8". You walk up, you're almost as tall as they are. Three, 4, and 1 for their guys. 1-3-0 for our guys.
Last time we saw the Twins, Vargas was sent down to the minor leagues, getting an opportunity because they still feel he's a big part of their future.
I'll tell you a guy I thought was going to be around for a long time in the Minnesota uniform was Oswaldo Arcia.
They finally moved him along, but
yeah,
he looked, when he came up, he looked to the world like he was going to be a corner outfielder for them for many, many years.
That ball is hit very hard for a single.
That's one of the oddities about Kenneth Vargas, and that is he's got 2 hits today, giving him 20 hits, 13 of which are for extra bases.
So here is Escobar. Eduardo, hard single into left field. He is now 5 for 11 in the series with a homer and 3 RBIs. A 3-run homer yesterday. That put him on top at the time, 5-4.
He's trying to duplicate what he did last year after the All-Star break. Took that one right off the ground from Matt Albers, and at least for the moment, put the Twins on top. I believe they were going to relinquish and then losing extras. But after the All-Star break last year, Escobar hit around 270 with 8 home runs and 29 driven in.
Not going to hit that pitch. 2 down.
Hey, Chicagoland viewers, it's time for the Subway third inning triple play promotion. Text Subway 3 to 97999 right now, and a 300th texter will win a $30 gift card to Subway restaurants in the Chicagoland area. Subway, fresh is what we do.
Polanco. Oh for 1, hit into a fielder's choice. Just a bullet. In a way, Vargas around. Here's a throw. Run at him, run it. Okay, now get it. He's out. He's out of the baseline. So the run counts, and that'll retire the side, but they lead it 4-1.
Running the bases very well, and both teams having a man taken off second base to end an inning. They don't get Kenneth Vargas, but then Polanco decides he's going to stray. Then he goes out of the baseline. He's still out. That went 7-2-4-5.
Here's Morneau. High and deep in the left field, but in front of State Farm makes the catch. And that'll bring up Todd Frazier, making his first appearance in the series. Struck out swinging at a high fastball.
Thought about the bunt. If it was a better pitch, he might have laid one down because Sano was way back at third base.
And there's ball 4. First walk issued by Santana. And here's Avi reached on an error. Pretty good rip underneath it.
one didn't miss by much. But it'll leave in the count at 1-1. That's the best pitch Santana has, and that's a good slider down out of the zone.
One on, one out, 1-2. Gap out there, big gap in right center. Two down.
White Sox fans, join us as our Sox take on the Orioles on Saturday, August 6th at 6:10. First 20,000 fans will receive a White Sox retro batting practice pullover presented by Coca-Cola. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com. Another injury for the Mets, and the injuries really piled up on that ball club as Drupal Cabrera carried off the field. Strained patella tendon in his left knee. So for the Mets, news keeps getting worse.
Yeah. Well, it got real bad with the David Wright injury.
That hurt him, and then all of a sudden Matt Harvey lost for the year. He goes on the DL. They've had assorted injuries besides that. And with the Mets now just 3 games over 500, they came into today 7.5 games in back of Washington.
On the move, throw is off the mark. So then on first and third, 2 out.
It's going to be E5, I believe.
That's 14 errors for. So no.
This one way wide of the bag. Marcus has no choice but to come off the bag. And a chance to get a little closer.
Come on, Omar, pick him up. Jacks it up. Pretty good lead. And he will pick him up. Oh boy. Tyler going to go to third base and throw us high.
And because
he's going to score.
Yeah, because Santana was not backing up. Well, this has not been an artistic
I tell you, this
success.
has been a bad news Bears game here on both sides.
Santana has absolutely nothing to do on that play but back up the throw. He doesn't back it up. And it's a 1-run game. Takes it to center field. That's the good part of this one. So drives home a run, and then with nobody backing up, this one into the camera well, it appears. Single, run batted in, E8.
2 errors this inning. Gives him 3 on the game. Now pick him up, Carlos. Don't stop now, boys. Nope. Pops him up into left field. But we get a couple of gift runs right there. We'll take them. And now we trail it 4-3.
With the White Sox checking and an official White Sox debit card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, member FDIC.
Danny Santana will lead it off for them. 7th place hitter. 0 for 1 hit into a 5-4 fielder's choice. Checking some other scores. Bottom of the 5th at Cleveland, 7-0 Tribe leading Oakland.
That was Sonny Gray that started for Oakland, and a lot of scouts taking a look at him, and between injuries and just not throwing it well, I'm not sure where or how much the value is.
Well, some of those people in Oakland, even though he's been a pretty good pitcher, don't like him. That's out number 1.
Join us when the White Sox face the Orioles on Sunday, August 7th at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans to receive a White Sox water bottle presented by the Village of Bedford Park. Bring your business home to Bedford Park and win big. Visit whitesox.com to purchase your tickets today.
Detroit shutting out Houston 8-0, top of the 7th at Comerica Park. And that's where we will be on Tuesday.
Yeah, the Tigers.
Wednesday and Thursday.
If they win this one, they will have won 6 games in a row.
Centeno 0 for 1, grounded out to Sanchez the second. Buxton with a sore right knee day to day. One ball, 2 strikes to Centeno. He gone. 2 down.
That hard slider low and away. He's no match for it. This at bat.
First pitch strike. That one at 93.
Now he's starting to feel pretty good about that fastball.
Yeah, that one at 96. That's the best one I've seen.
Yeah. And he threw it in a good spot. He threw it up and in.
He gone. 5 strikeouts now for Rodon. And we're into the 5th.
Blog at WGNTV.com, sponsored by Jeff Vukovich, your local nationwide insurance agent serving the area for 38 years. Join the nation. Visit JeffVuk.com because Nationwide is on your side.
Top of the order here in the top of the 5th inning. Adam Eaton, who's 1 for 2, a single and a run scored. And of course, he is Joe Simmons, Martha Black, and Gail Tucker's pick to click. We have our dear friends in the office back home. Outfield for the most part straight up. Bit of a gap out there in right center. Yeah, I'm surprised that somebody hadn't come after Santana. As you said, he's on most clubs, especially a contending club. If you got him as your 3rd or your 4th, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, if he's a 3, you wouldn't hesitate to take him into the playoffs if that's where you're headed. He can also help pitch you there, but it depends on how good the team is.
Rosario playing him perfectly. That ball was hit hard. That's a hang waffle. But you're right, the slider's not anywhere near like it used to be.
No, there was a time when you faced him, you were really in for a handful.
Yeah. Yep.
But these days, it's okay. But 05, he was 12-8, then 16-8 in 06.
Another multi-hit game for Anderson. This has been amazing, really.
Well, if he gets 1, most likely he's going to get 2. And in last night's game, once he got 2, he got a 3rd, a double in the 9th inning. And that turned out to be the tying run.
Yeah, there have been some players with that moniker, that tag. If they get 1, they're going to get 2. And of course, one of them, or number 14.
Wally? Oh, that number 14. That's a different 14. Beat Rhodes.
Yeah. And there's a base hit. Boy, Melky picking up his second hit of the game. Yeah, I used to talk to our hitters a lot more than I do now about certain pitchers. And at one time they would tell you Santana's slider was just about as nasty as it was in the league.
Well, 16-7, 2008. The ERA just below 3.5. That was a big year for him. 2010, 17-10. So he's had some big years. Won 129 major league games.
Here's Morneau, called out and then went out deep to left. And you might say, after what I just said about, well, why don't you talk to him now, Hawk? But the way we've been going the last couple of seasons, you don't talk to hitters about hitting too much. You leave them alone. Todd Steverson's got his hands full of.
Well, there's also another factor that
These
seems to
guys.
be the lost art. Not only just hitting, obviously, you have your hitting coach, you have your pitching coach, and those guys will work tirelessly to try to everybody get things around. But it seems to me base running has really deteriorated all over baseball. Not just because we're here and it's a bad base running day today. It just, that's one of the lost arts of the game. Not only base stealing, base running, understanding when to go, where to go, and how to get there.
Steve, the last 4 or 5 years, we've had as bad a base running team as there is in the American League. We don't see them all the time like we see ours, but it's hard to imagine anybody being worse than we've been the last 4 or 5 years. Getting doubled up on line drives, bad decisions. Not a statue of this. Not bad decisions from Joe McEwing. He is a terrific third base coach. In fact, he has done yeoman work down there with some of the guys we've had running the bases. Jacks it up. One and two the count. Touch him up right here, Justin. Gonzo and rack him up. Halfway home. We trail it 4-3.
The fifth inning is brought to you by Fifth Third Bank. Now get access to over 45,000 fee-free ATMs nationwide.
Top of the order here in the bottom of the fifth. Dozier to lead it off. He led off the bottom of the first with a ringing double in the left field. Takes the strike.
They've got the shift on, and a couple times in this series he's hit the ball to right and right center field. But I wouldn't think he'd be thinking about that here. The appeal to Chad Whitson, and he says he did not swing.
That's high and that's deep and that's gone. Off the facade of the upper deck. He's pretty good. He's a pretty good high fastball hitter.
I think he might have proven that one definitively. That ball just missed going into the upper deck, which is a blast. And that's his 18th home run of the year. He now has 53 driven in, so no sooner sneaking back to a 1-run deficit than finding it a 2-run deficit. That ball is right up in his eyes, and Dozier able to get up, get it, and get it out of here in a hurry.
Well, the most demonstrative top hands in all of baseball, not just the American League, but in the American League, probably the 3 best top hands I mentioned the other day. You got Pedroia,
Altuve,
yeah. Dozier. Adam, nice play. Grossman is retired. He's now 1 for 3. It's a 5-3 ball game. Yeah, Altuve and Pedroia and Dozier probably as good as 3 top hands as anybody in America.
Those are the residual effects of the fireworks display. Hopefully we won't see those again here. They really made a good pick. Twins took Dozier in the 8th round, 2009.
Long way to go for Avi. He gets there. 2 down.
Friday, August 5th is Ladies' Night. Come see the White Sox take on the Orioles at 7:10. You can stay for a post-game fireworks show presented by Athletico. First 1,000 fans to purchase a whitesox.com/ladies receives a free tote bag. Athletico Physical Therapy, better for everybody.
Vargas, a long 2-run homer. Another very hard single, and he scored twice.
All right, here we go.
General managers is a fine line between holding a guy long enough to get as much as you possibly can and holding him too long. In the case of Dayton Moore, he might have hung on to Wade Davis a little too long. He's on the DL. And they did an MRI. It apparently is a low grade, a grade 1 strain of the right flexor muscle. So if they were thinking about getting something for him, not going to be anytime soon.
I tell you, hitters from both sides don't know what they're going to get when they go up to the plate.
You just have to hope
they don't know what kind of strike zone Adrian's got behind there. It's all over the place.
You have to hope that you get a fastball early in the count, put a charge into it.
Here's Escobar. That's in the right field. Long way for Ivy to go, and he's not going to be able to get there, as that's a souvenir.
Well, the real funny stories came out of baseball out of Texas. Michael Young, they were honoring him in a ceremony, and Elvis Andrus dressed up like a clown. Michael Young almost punched him. He hates clowns. He said it scares him, he hates him, and he came really close to decking him.
Oh, the long home run by Dozier, and we'll go to the sixth, 25-3.
Comes up to Carlos Rodon, who at his tender young age is still learning his craft. Talking with him probably about location of maybe the high heat to Dozier.
Well, you can bet your sweet Bippy he talked to him before the game about that high heat to Dozier.
There's no doubt about that.
Amazing sometimes how quick guys can forget something.
Well, hitters remind you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we might have to do. I was watching some highlights of Castellanos. He's been catching up to a few belt high fastballs. Something bit below the belt as that's hit hard to foul.
Well, look, he's got a very good hitting coach in Wally Joyner. If you can hit low fastballs, it shows, number one, you've got pretty good hands, but also you should be able to hit them, maybe not face high, but should be able to hit them belt high and above.
Well, he's bringing his, what I'm saying is he's bringing his hitting zone up a little bit. And that probably is credited to Wally, who is indeed and was a terrific hitter. Wally Joyner squared up a lot of pitches.
One of the things you always talk about is hang time. And in the early years of his career, and I mean a lot of those early years, Sammy Sosa could not touch a high fastball. And Jeff Pentland got to him and talked to him about hang time with that front foot. And he became not only a dangerous hitter, but he became a guy that became a 300 hitter because he could hit high fastballs all of a sudden. And it was just the hang time that allowed him that timing mechanism to get to the high fastball.
Well, there's a great example. Sammy is a great example of getting with the right guy. When he was with us, and we had a hitting coach named Walt Reniak, is there's ball 4. And Walt helped a lot of guys. But I don't care who the hitting coach is, you can't help everybody.
Nope.
But he helped some guys. Walter helped some guys. And Sammy was not one of them. And they didn't like each other. And I remember the day he was traded for George Bell. I was ecstatic for Sammy to get him out because I used to have to talk to him every day. He wanted to quit. That's how much they disliked each other. And I had to talk with Sammy almost every day and Sammy, just hang in there, hang in there. There are other teams out there. Somebody, might not be us, but somebody out there is going to want you.
Well, still the only man to ever hit as many as 60+ home runs, 3 different years.
Well, he left us. He gets with somebody that they hit it off, and it was strictly a coach thing. And the rest is history. The rest is history.
Yep.
I've seen that before. I've seen hitting coaches who had a lot of input into lineups, in the respect that before a game they would say, okay, Hawk's not swinging the bat, I wouldn't play him against this guy today, or Steve's not swinging the bat, blah 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 blah. You know, they had a lot of input, and I've seen hitting coaches absolutely drown guys before.
Well, it's also organizational philosophies. I mean, take a look at, and we see him every time we see Boston. We look at David Ortiz. He was here with Minnesota when they were in the Metrodome. Their organizational philosophy was everybody hit the ball the other way. Yeah, you can pull it, but look to the other way. Well, David Ortiz not that kind of hitter.
Right.
Well, he got to Boston. They let him be the kind of hitter that he wanted to be, and the rest is history there also.
They're going to go to second. And a good job by Polanco, who becomes the first baseman in essence, makes the stretch, the catch. And that's out number 1.
Sano got lucky that ball didn't wind up in right field.
That's right. I've seen the same thing with pitching coaches as you have. I've seen guys who were really struggling get with the right pitching coach and poof, all of a sudden they're winning 15, 18, 20 games.
Sometimes it's 2, 3 teams down the road, but the light turns on. If you've got some ability, the light will turn on. And the message might be essentially the same. It's the messenger and how he presents it.
Johnny Sain made Earl Wilson, big right-hander, a 20-game winner with that slider. You could see everybody that Johnny Sain worked with, that loping slider that they threw.
He called it, having been with him, he called it his controlled breaking ball, which was in between a curveball and a slider.
Yeah, it just loped at you.
Right, and he said, look, you might have some trouble with the curve or you might have some trouble with the slider, but I'm going to give you something in between that you can get over the plate. And he did. He helped a lot of pitchers.
Oh, he did.
He also hated to run. He hated for his pitchers to run, which a lot of pitchers really appreciated.
Well, Ray Berry's with the White Sox back in that same time zone. We used to feel sorry for the White Sox pitchers in spring training. Old Payne Park, they'd be out there, they'd be running foul line to foul line for the first 6 innings. Foul line to foul line for 6 innings. Organizational philosophy. Then you got Houston for a long time. I don't know if they're still doing it. That's low. They'd sign these kids out of high school that are throwing mid 90s, maybe some of them a little higher than that for a lot of money, and then all of a sudden they said, okay, you're not going to throw more than 80 pitches. And these kids are throwing 150, 160 pitches in every game they play in high school, and they're pitching twice a week, so they're throwing more pitches than any major league pitcher in a week's time.
Now what Houston is doing is 6-man rotations.
There's a chopper, 2 hopper, 2 down.
Houston's going 5-4 with their starting pitchers. 6 men they have in the rotation. you might go 5, I'll go 4 in relief of you. Then the next time out, I'll go 5, you'll go 4. And some guys it works with, and other guys, well, they never quite figure out how to do it or extend them. So you bring them to the major leagues then, and it's not 5 and 4 anymore. Not quite sure when they decide to extend them. And they brought up some good pitchers.
Well, also, they didn't do all bad when Larry Durker was the skipper.
No.
Texas, they didn't do all bad when Nolan Ryan ran the ball club with those pitchers.
No, and they're looking for pitchers now. Got a couple guys DL'd. Holland is DL'd. Lewis is DL'd. And everybody believes that the Rangers will make a deal before tomorrow, 4 o'clock Eastern.
Well, the more involved agents get, the less and less of what we're talking about is going to happen. You're going to find pitchers pitching less and less and less because these agents are going to try to extend the shelf life of the pitcher, and you can't blame us for the job. Right side, slowly hit. Santana right where he should be, and that'll retire the side. We have completed 5.5, and we trail it 5-3. Of the 6th. We trail it 5-3. Blanco, Centeno. You know, I saw where Rob Manfred, commissioner, is contemplating, thinking about maybe limiting the number of pitchers you can have on staff.
Limiting the relief pitchers.
Yeah, that you can have, and the reason being for a time cutting measure, length of ball game, and I think that's a huge mistake.
I don't think it will ever come about. I think it's something someone might have talked to him about. He brought it up. In the application of that, you're going to ruin some pitchers because you're going to tell pitchers what you got to go 3 on days when you don't have it.
That, as I said, I think it's a huge mistake. If anything, they should raise the roster to 26. The way these guys are managing today. 1 out.
Now, if you go with the 13-man pitching staff, you're going to go with a 3-man bench, which in the American League isn't near as disastrous as it is in the National League, where you're double switching and you're doing a lot of different changes. So 13-man pitching staff is tough.
Santana with a solid single in the left.
Let's take a look at the last out of the inning. If you're a first baseman, the first thing you do is know, number one, who's running, and number two, where your second baseman is. So Narvaez is running. Vargas has to know he doesn't run very well. Ranging this far away from the bag makes it a difficult play. It's turned out Santana got there in time, but anytime you get a pitcher involved when you don't have to, when the first baseman doesn't know where the second baseman is or who's running, you get the pitcher involved and you open yourself up to a mistake. You played first base for a long time, and first thing you did,
check your second base.
Sure, because then you know when to go back to the bag and when you got to go after the baseball.
Cost that kid a perfect game.
Yeah, it did.
In Detroit.
Yes, it did.
Miguel Cabrera, who I love, is a hitter and is a player, period. But Miguel had no business going after that ball. That ball was way over there.
It was Galarraga who would have thrown the perfect game.
All right, boys, take your time. Back them up. And that'll retire the side. We're into the 7th. We need 2 to tie.
Robin by logging out to WGNTV.com and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner for the latest stats and information. Sox Game Zone is powered by Dodd Camera. It's family owned for under 25 years, handling all your photographic needs. Dodd Camera, where the focus is on you. So we've got a new pitcher coming into the ball game here in the top of the 7th inning with a 2-run lead. It is Trevor May. He came over in a deal with the Philadelphia Phillies some time ago. There you see the numbers on for the 39th time. ERA at 5.30. And we saw him in the opener of this 3-game series.
Well, except for a couple of bad plays, Santana really pitched well.
I thought that he had pretty good stuff, and he's in line for the win. That'll be up to the bullpen that has not done a great job this year for Minnesota as Don Cooper continues his conversation with Carlos Rodon.
Now, a couple of errors cost him 2 runs, unearned runs back in the 4th. Outside of that, he gave up 1 earned run. So here is Sanchez, a strikeout and a pop up to left field. Yeah, you would not have, if you had a 26-man roster where you could add another pitcher out there in the bullpen, guys would not be going on the deal, I don't think, anywhere near as much as they do. That's out number one. And it's not talked about. We've touched on it several times, but it's gotten to the point now that managers just have to know when to eat a game to save that bullpen.
That's why I think every team, and they don't have one, but every team should have one long man in their bullpen. Guy who not going to have a good ERA, but he's going to be able to pitch 4 1/3, 4 2/3. You're getting blown out. You're going to save your pen for days when you really need them. And one guy's got to wear it, but that guy has to be a guy who is familiar with starting, because he's going to go deep in the game.
And he's got to wear the moniker of the old quote rubber arm.
Take it for the club. Take one for the club.
That's exactly right.
Adam Eaton looking in at Adrian Johnson saying, wait a second, that one was wide.
Well, he called him out on a pitch that was off the plate, his first at bat, leading off the game. Yeah, Lou Piniella was one of the first to recognize the advent of the way the game was going. You know, with the 7th inning guy, 8th inning guy, 9th inning guy. And of course, he won all those games out there. Seattle. He had 3 outstanding left-handers out in that bullpen. That's flipped into left field, and that's going to be caught. So 2 down, and he was one of the first guys that had stones enough to eat a game.
One of the guys that you talk about all the time that you really love as a manager was one of the masters at manipulating his bullpen and putting his pitchers in position to be successful, and that was Whitey Herzog. Whitey, both a manager with Kansas City and later St. Louis, he was brilliant out there in getting the matchups that he needed. And he would make guys who struggled other places, they'd come to St. Louis and he'd make them a whole lot better.
The thing about Whitey, first and foremost, was he's the greatest talent evaluator I've ever seen in the game.
You said he put together 5 teams?
5 teams. He built 5 teams. He was a master at those 8 for 7 deals, 7 for 6 deals, changing the chemistry of the ball club. Whitey, I played with Whitey. Whitey was on the team when I first came up in 1963. He was in Kansas City. But the 2 things that Whitey did and also Piniella lived by. Lived by 1 and 2 the count. 2 words, matchups.
Oh, that's
matchups. That's what you just said.
That's what he did exceptionally well.
Lou could tell you today, if he were playing our club right now and he was managed, he could tell you today, and let's say Petrichka was healthy and back with us, he could tell you today who he was going to send up there to hit against Petrichka. He could tell you who he was going to bring in to pitch to Frazier today in tomorrow's game. All right, 7th inning stretch. We still trailing by 2.
Sponsor today's scoreboard and the schedule around the major leagues. Toronto trying to keep their hold on first place in a 2-2 tie with Baltimore. Detroit killing Houston. It was Dallas Keuchel who started that one, and he has lost the magic somehow.
Both. It hadn't just been one way, it's been both sides today. That's out of play. Eddie is with 0-2 count.
The last time up was the first time up for Rosario, who came in when Buxton left with the knee problem, and he swung at a fastball up and in and didn't come close to it.
If you're just tuning in, Carlos making his first start by some time. Had a rough first inning. A double, a single, a 2-run homer, long 2-run homer, and another rocket single. They scored 3 times. And since then, he has settled down nicely.
When you consider he hasn't pitched for 3.5 weeks, he would have to consider this a successful outing.
No question about it. No question.
Because you know, look, the first inning he didn't have his command, and that's to be expected. And then he started throwing it pretty well. He's had just one 1-2-3 inning, although he only faced 3 men last inning.
This has been a success in his comeback.
Well, if Omar feels like it, he can call that fastball inside, keep it above his hands, and he'll throw it right by him. We haven't seen Rosario lay off that pitch this entire series.
One thing about it, though, I wouldn't let him get in any trouble this inning to take the glitter off his comeback.
With that in mind, the bullpen is up and going in case he has some problems.
And this would be, for me, it'd be the last inning for him, for sure.
Yeah, he's right up at 99 pitches on this one forthcoming.
Here you go.
Now's your chance to get a limited edition Bo Jackson bobblehead. Celebrate the only professional 2-sport all-star for a donation of only $35. There's a limited amount available, so get yours today with proceeds benefiting Chicago White Sox charities. Visit whitesox.com/BoBobble to purchase yours today.
So a very, very nice comeback for Carlos Rodon after that tough first inning. Settled down nicely, healed apart. Carson Fulmer comes on, and we'll be back.
He's going to look at the red-hot Brian Dozier. On for the 5th time, 0-1 ERA. Well, it's way up there.
Ryan's 2 for 3. Got a high fastball and ripped it off the wall and left center for a double. And in the 5th inning, got a high fastball and hit it off the facade of the upper deck out in left field, and that is a long way. Ball hit hard. They're going to learn this man can turn a fastball around. I don't know when, but they're going to learn this man can turn a fastball around.
You know,
he's done it last year. He did it in 14, he did 13, he did 12, 11, and 10.
No, 93 thigh high is not going to get it done. And Dozier, a double. Now his 2nd home run. The man came out of the crib looking for a fastball. He's still looking for it. When he gets it, he hits it hard. Got 19 of them. And 54 driven in.
Grossman. 1-1 to count. Robbie is 1 for 3.
You can bet there's a lot of general managers right now on the phones. The Blue Jays are discussing a trade with Rob Antony here in Minnesota for Irvin Santana. The Dodgers trying to get Chris Archer from the Rays, and the Rays have 3 starters they can talk about dealing. So a pretty decent position to be in.
Well, if I were Toronto, I would try very hard to get Irvin Santana.
Yep. And certainly just about each and every one of those teams that are looking for a starter, there's almost one-stop shopping. If you call Matt Silverman with the Rays, he's got 3 of them. And depending on the price you want to pay, he'll move Odorizzi, he'll move Matt Moore, he'll move Chris Archer.
2 down.
White Sox fans, grab White Sox seats with the StubHub app. We take the price and location of the seats, show you which tickets at StubHub give you the best deal, so you can get that StubHub app today and get the best price. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Chicago White Sox.
Oh, I can't understand that move for Tampa Bay. Who's the GM there?
GM is Matt Silverman. You might remember Andrew Friedman left, went to the Dodgers, and Silverman took over.
Well, Matt, I don't understand that move there, because if you're going to do that, trade a couple of those pitchers away. Evan Longoria is not going to do you any good.
Well, if that is indeed the deal, you would think that Longoria would probably go somewhere to somebody else, because that means you're starting to tear things down and rebuild things.
What good? He's a terrific player. What good is he going to do them?
Nope.
When you can get something for a lot for him. So no. 0 for 3, a couple of strikeouts and a pop up to right field. Full count. Just got a piece of it.
That one, I think, caught a piece of Narvaez. And normally when the umpire walks out for no apparent reason, he's allowing that catcher to regroup. But that's a position played by some very tough men, because you are going to take a beating.
Right off the end of the bat. But the guy got us again on a fastball, Brian Dozier, and it is now 6-3.
summary, Twins have doubled up our Sox 9-6. They've out hit our ball club, and they've made 3 errors on top of it. Rodon, pretty credible, 6 in the 3rd innings. 8 hits, 5 runs, 5 of them earned. They jumped on him early. Dozier's hitting the daylights out of it. Get the Honda you love at the Honda Summer Clearance Event, now at your Honda dealer. And we got a new pitcher coming in the ball game. We've seen Taylor Rogers one time in this series. He looked very good. He's 3-0. His ERA 2.72. He was a starter. Now moved to the pen.
Come on, boys. Let's give them a finish here. They lead us 6-3. 6-9-3 for them. 3-6-0 for us. And 2 of our runs were gifts.
They were that.
We'll be off to Detroit after this ball game. Off day tomorrow.
And then the Red Hot Tigers will provide the opposition, and they are starting to play some really good baseball.
Well, we know they can hit. There's the start. The dreaded leadoff walk.
Join us as our Sox face the Oakland A's on Saturday, August 20th at 6:10. First 20,000 fans to enter U.S. Cellular Field will receive a pair of White Sox socks. For tickets, visit whitesox.com.
So here is Morneau, 0 for 3. Pitching matchups Tuesday. It'll be James Shields against Anibal Sanchez.
He's one of the struggling Tiger pitchers.
5-12, 468. Wednesday, Chris Sale against Michael Fulmer. Fulmer's not a struggler.
No.
9-2 with a 2.50.
He's not struggling at all.
And on Thursday, Quintana for us, so we're going to run 3 pretty good ones out there against them. And to be announced in that Thursday game for Detroit. Now the Tuesday game will be over Comcast Sportsnet. Wednesday over WPWR. And Thursday over Comcast Sportsnet.
And it'll be back home for a very brief homestand against Baltimore. 3 games against pretty good ball club, those Orioles.
That gun right there.
And the combination of Dan Duquette and company in that front office, along with Buck Showalter, who I'm sure has a say-so.
You can bet them on that. So the walk, the single, and now the tying run comes to the plate. As Buck should have a say-so.
Yeah, you would think those Orioles, especially now trailing Toronto, they've gone into extra innings in Toronto with them, but they're trailing. Boston hot on their heels. You would think that they would be more than willing to make a trade. So meeting at the mound, and there it is. Baltimore has given up first place to Toronto. Boston's sitting there 2 back coming into action, only 1 back in the loss column. The Yankees unloading. They've let go of their 2 prized left-handed relievers, Aroldis Chapman and Andrew Miller. They're right at 500. Tampa Bay looking to trade somebody, rebuild.
Here's Todd. He's 0 for 1, a couple of walks and a run scored. There it was. Couldn't pull the trigger. Baltimore and Toronto tied at 2, top of the 11th inning up in Canada. 0-2, the count.
He gets a no. Very deep at third, as you would expect, and over toward the line. Yet the outfield is playing straight away.
High and wide. Right there. That was a good pitch. Good strike. 1 out.
This one right down the middle. Centeno holds it right there. Doesn't really have to. He had the plate. Taylor Rogers' brother Tyler pitches in the San Francisco Giants organization.
Here's Avi. He's 0 for 3. Reached on an error and twice has grounded to third. Well, bad news about that Detroit. 11-0 pasting of Houston. As Miggy hit a couple home runs.
And you believe he hits them in bunches?
Let's put it this way. I just don't like to play him when he's swinging that well.
Well, you don't play him too often when he's not swinging it well. Hopefully he's not swinging it exceptionally well.
And Victor was 2 for 4. Got his average at 300. Well, Miguel Cabrera, to me, you know how I feel about him.
Yep.
If he were able to play healthy and hadn't have been banged up with those bad ankles and legs the last couple 3 years, that guy had a chance to turn out to be as good a hitter as we've ever seen, period, in this game. Ever. There's no question who's the smartest hitter in this league, and I would say probably both leagues.
Fernando Abad, there was some thought about his durability. He's been in the first 2 games of the series and up again here today.
That's into center field. So here comes Melky. He's going to score. Now it's a 6-4 ball game.
All Polanco had to do was somehow bat it down. He would have gotten the force out, but he chose to backhand it, and it got right by him. That's going to be E4. That's going to be the 4th error. Right back up the middle. And Polanco backhands it out into center field. It's E4, no run batted in. Molitor coming out. Rogers is going out. And we'll be back after these messages. At Bat app. You can stay up to the moment at any moment with game day, live video highlights, StatCast news, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. So Michael Tonkin comes in the ball game. The tall, lean right-hander on for the 45th time. 2-2 ERA, 3.88. Opponent's hitting .242. If you give up a hit per inning pitched, opponent's batting average against you is going to be .250. Anything below .250 is good. And of course, depending on the walks, you get the whip. And that's hits and walks together per 9 innings. His is 1.2. That means every inning, for each and every inning he's gone out there, he's averaged over 1 base runner. Now, when you have a below 1.0 whip, that's outstanding.
Well, you don't see that very often.
No. Well, then you got an overwhelming pitcher then.
So here is Saladino. Tyler's due. He's 0 for 3. Makes the bunt. Good concept. Sano way back. 1 out, 2 on, 1 in. 6-4 Minnesota here in the top of the 8th inning. There's somebody else starting to swing that bat for the Tigers. It's Justin Upton.
Yeah, they've been waiting. I mean, they spent a lot of money on Justin Upton. They've been waiting for him to show some signs of life. He was striking out at a prolific rate. He was going to strike out well over 200 times. So if he's cut those down and start making some contact, he's got enough talent and enough strength to make a difference.
That ball hit well in the center field, but that's a long way out.
You don't want to run on Rosario
And
too much.
Rosario made a real good shot.
Yeah, Rosario and Santana both have very good arms. Rosario especially. And you consider that he plays left field more than he plays any other place. He's got an overpowering left fielder's arm, and it's certainly good enough in center. Here's our Xfinity Speed replay. And this is right back through the middle. That part's good. That part's not so good. Shows you how strong the arm of Rosario is. He airmailed Sano at third base. And 2 runs scored, getting the Sox at the time within 1.
Here's Narvaez. A little tardy right there.
That speed replay was brought to you by Xfinity. Xfinity X1 will change the way you experience TV.
And this, I said, well, this might be all year the worst game we have seen played by both teams. Both teams have not played a bad ball game.
No, this one is not going to be an artistic success.
No.
On either side of the equation.
No. It's the worst one I've seen all year for both teams.
Well, it's not only the physical mistakes, because physical errors will happen. They happen all the time. It's mental mistakes, not backing up bases, overrunning bases. It's been one of those days.
No, Bob.
There's another one, because if you just allow it to get by you, you got a catcher running. Narvaez. Escobar with a strong arm, and that one off Sano's glove. So he's had a very tough afternoon. It's going to go as a base hit, but if he just lets that one go, it tipped off his glove. If he lets it go, Escobar is going to make the play, and it's out of the inning. But instead, a big chance.
Sox packed. Neil Allen, pitching coach, out of the dugout. Curveball Neil Allen had. One of the better right-handed curveballs in baseball.
He was involved in some deal. One that sent Keith Hernandez to the New York Mets. At the time, the Mets a last place team. Hernandez, the building block of that championship 1986 season.
Ball hit sharply. Meanwhile, sucked up by Vargas. So we threaten, can't do anything with it. We come up with one at 6-4.
It's none other than Brian Dozier with a couple of home runs, a ringing double to lead off the ball game, and he's pretty much done it all. Wrap your hands around the official Italian beef of the Chicago White Sox at one of the 19 Bona locations.
Hold them right there, boys. It'll be Vargas, Escobar, Polanco, Carson Fulmer. How to play left side. Vargas a long 2-run homer, a very hard single, a walk, and then he scored twice. Two and two. That'll bring up Escobar, a pinch runner now.
So Vargas departs. Max Kepler in his place. He started the first 2 games of the series. He came in red hot. He did 8 home runs in the month of July. But they decided against Carlos Rodon. Paul Muller decided to give him a rest today.
Takes first pitch strike. Oh, and 2 the count.
Almost went after it that time. Slider. Had a part of the plate.
Ball hit well into center field. Did we get a man there? One out. So here's Polanco. He doubled back in the third inning.
Quick move to first. Carson does have pretty quick feet. Butch Davis, the first base coach. Gene Glynn is the third base coach.
Second base. Can't get him. 2 down. Then bring up Danny Santana. Get into a 5-4 fielder's choice. Pop to first, and he has single. In case you're just tuning in. Ryu not playing today. Todd Frazier playing for the first time in the series. I just feel like, you know, when he's not here, we're just missing something. And that's Brett Laurie. It's just not the same when he's not.
Well, you're missing a whole lot of energy there.
Oh, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Nice pick. Just not the same when he's not in that lineup. But went to the ninth. Need 2 to tie.
The pinch run stays in the game in right field. Danny Santana shifts to third as actually he's not in third. Santana's in left. Mauer's at first. We got a new pitcher that comes in the ball game, and he's on to try to close it down. And it is Ryan Presley. He's only been asked twice to save games, has yet to do it. But he's got a big fastball.
Adam Eaton, our leadoff hitter. It's the top of the order here in the top of the ninth. Adam 1 for 4 with a run scored. And a count 2-0.
You got a guy that's not used to getting those final 3 outs. Yeah, every now and then they will come through, but they pay guys gigantic money to nail down outs 25, 6, and 7 for a reason. They are tough to get.
Some guys just can't do it, period.
No, you get guys that are brilliant in the 8th inning, and then the closer is traded or gets hurt or something along those lines. You try to slot that really good setup man into the closer role, and he fails miserably.
Failure is, well, in essence, the biggest part of baseball. Snaps that one. 1 out. Every time you walk in that plate, the average guy, the average major league hitter, you're a 7.5 to 1 underdog. When you get to where you're a 7 to 1 underdog, you might go to Cooperstown.
Well, then you're a 300 hitter.
Yeah.
Well, you got a guy on the mound who's 2 outs away from doing something he's never done, and that is he's never had a major league save. In fact, he only had 6 minor league saves, and that came in 2014.
We've had guys on this ball club over the years who 5th, 6th inning, 7th inning, 8th inning, lights out. 9th inning, couldn't breathe.
Forget it.
Oh, you couldn't put a grease tee out there behind with a pair of pliers. That's into left field. And then you got guys like Bobby Thigpen, who our bullpen coach, for years held a major league record for saves. Bobby go out there for you with nothing, because he works so much. He'd go out there with nothing and pick up a save. Now he'd scare you to death, but he'd go out there because he had stones about as big as anybody who ever hit that bump. So here is Melky. Melky 2 for 3 with a walk and a run scored. Both teams will be happy when this thing is over. They'll just be a little happier than we are, because if it stands like it is, they'll win it. Both teams have not had a banner day. Yanks have one foul down past Darrell Boston. That ball in the left center field. Nobody's going to get that one. That's going to bring the tying run to the plate. In the person of Justin Morneau.
3 for 4 today for Melky.
25th two-bagger.
In the 3rd inning, he drove in his 49th run of the year. This is a slider down. So at least for the moment, out number 27 postponed. trying to win Major League Baseball games, you don't have a bona fide lockdown closer, it's going to be some tough sledding. Not that Presley won't get it done, it's just that he never has gotten it done. And he's had a good enough arm for a while in this game.
Melky now.
Settle down, Melky. Settle down.
Melky gets those shoulders up around his ears.
He wants to make the attempt, but not a wise choice as this one gets away. Centeno tries to backhand it. He can't do that.
Watch his shoulders now.
Yeah, Melky, he's ready to go. Then ready to run back.
Well, what's happened since this guy retired, I think now there have been literally thousands, maybe a couple million baseball fans appreciate just how great Mariano Rivera was.
Well, there's an example of a setup man, David Robertson, who learned how to do what he does because of Mariano and paid the price to stay behind him and learn. And then when he got his chance, he became a very good major league closer.
1-0 pitch. He had a hack. Come on, one time. We got nothing else to do today. Let's get this thing tied up.
Morneau's had a very good series back in front of the crowd that used to cheer him consistently.
He's dangerous.
Yes, he is.
Ball game is over. They win it. They win the rubber match. 6-4, and we'll be back.